Hello and welcome to the first episode of the new season for BCFC Media's podcast. We're not calling it View from the Tilton Road this season yet. We are considering a name change, but we can't commit to anything at this time. Kieran, your host for this episode, joining me is Elliot. We're just going to quickly run through the signings for the season so far and a couple of pretty awful predictions, I'm guessing, come end of the season. But Elliot, how you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a good few days as a Blues fan, really.
Yeah, well, we've already chatted about that off air, so
yeah, been interesting. We're after a new striker, so what's not to like?
yeah, we're after a new striker. I think there's been a few rumours on Twitter today. I think we were just saying when we were off air that we're definitely short of a championship level striker, shall we say, that can get goals and a couple of defenders, I think. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think the latest rumour is Nahki Wells. I texted you earlier about it, and you seemed pretty keen about it, didn't you?
I like Nahki Wells, and I know we was linked with him before he ended up at Bristol City, but I didn't like the fact that they wanted 6 million for him. I thought that was a bit much. I know he was scoring goals for fun at QPR, but if, as we assume, it's going to be a low fee if it's permanent, then I'm all for it. You know, if it's player to play off Duke and, you know, like you say, a bit more mobile, and he obviously knows where the net is, then it could be a decent signing, couldn't it? Especially considering some of the other names I've seen linked to us. I mean, one of the names I've seen going around earlier was Bodvarsson from Millwall, who I just don't rate, to be honest. I know a couple of the lads in the pages WhatsApp group were throwing other names: Grabban, Lyle Taylor. I know Lee Gregory was one of the names rumoured before it's come out. He's going to Wednesday, but I think Wells is probably the one out of the lot of them that you'd take. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree. I think Nahki Wells strikes me as a player that could potentially play through the middle or potentially off the striker, down either off the left or the right side, probably off the left side. I think potentially what we're looking at Saturday is if Lee Bowyer is probably thinking along the lines of playing three at the back and then playing wing back style. He's then going to have to play one striker, which isn't going to be Lukas Jukovic. So it's going to need mobile forwards that can get in and around each other. I think Nahki Wells is one of those sort of players that can get in and around, say, someone like Scott Hogan, with Chong coming in off the right-hand side. I think that looks quite useful to me. You know, if he plays three at the back or five at the back when out of possession, he's not going to play wingers. So he needs to bolster those sort of forward players. I think, you know, we'll talk about it now when we chuck an EK transfer wise. He looks a useful player. I think he could potentially be a good impact player this season, don't you think?
I mean, yeah, obviously the first thing we'll do is run through each of the signings. Obviously, it's our first time catching up since the end of last season, so we haven't really touched base on any of the signings, really. But yeah, Chukwuemeka, I think he brings something different to what we've had in recent years. He's quite mobile, but also, you know, a decent target if you do need to go a bit more direct. You know, he's obviously got a bit of power behind him and likes to make himself known to other players. I've seen the footage of him just absolutely bundling one of the defenders to the ground in a pre-season friendly. You know, if you do that in front of the Tilton, then you immediately endear yourself to the fans. So I think it's an interesting one, you know, and obviously no fee, so it's a low risk. And you know, it looked like a handful for Charlton last season. So I think it's a decent addition overall. I mean, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't personally know a lot about chucks an EK. I know when we spoke with Kane on the last sort of episode at the end of the season, he seemed quite keen on him. And I think, he's worked with Lee Bowyer previously, and he scored 16 goals last season in the league. A lot from the bench, I believe. So I think he's a good option to have on the bench. I think he'll be useful to bring on. He's a presence, like you say, and someone to hit with the ball. Djukovic isn't going to last 90 minutes every week, so he's a perfect sort of player to bring on and hit the ball to. So yeah, I think other signings wise, I think we're looking for a striker, because I don't think Lecco is going to be up to. What are your thoughts on Lecco sort of pre-season so far?
I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt after last season, and I haven't really watched too much of the friendlies. I watched us against Baggies and I thought we were awful, but I don't want to read too much into pre-season. I know he says we haven't played, he just plays 4-4-2 for the sake of it. So I don't think we've seen what we're really planning to do this season in terms of a formation, as a style of play. But Lecco doesn't seem to have been up to the standard you'd think is needed. Maybe, like you say, Bowyer's seen that and thought he needs another forward. Maybe he was counting on Lecco potentially being the one that can be the mobile forward, but for whatever reason, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Lecco was pretty successful, wasn't he, at Charlton in the League One under Bowyer, and I think potentially it's probably his level at the minute. And I don't buy into what a lot of supporters are saying that he doesn't look interested. I just don't think this is his level. And I think, along with Cosgrove, which was a ridiculous signing in January, hopefully there'll be. I personally would loan both of them out if possible to League One.
I think, in terms of a striker, it's interesting that obviously the rumours first came out today when Alan Nixon tweeted, didn't he, saying that we was looking at a championship forward, and immediately you read that and you think, well, any championship forward who's worth their salt ain't going to be moving to another championship club. So obviously immediately your options that you can assume you could be looking at are limited, which is obviously why we've pulled the names like Gregory and Bodvarsson out. But I think Wells is probably the better option. But I think, like we say, Dukey's not going to be the man to be up top on his own. Lecco, like you say, I don't think he's not interested. I just don't, like you say, he's not really done anything to prove that he's good enough for the championship. And maybe it's the injury he had. Some players never really recover mentally rather than physically from stuff like that, do they? So whether that plays on his mind a bit, I don't know. I'd find him a loan move, maybe, if you can. Send him to a club for a season where he's going to play and let him get the minutes in his legs that he might not get for us. Cosgrove, like you say, ludicrous signing in the first place. Was he $1.5 million as well? So again, money well spent.
I just don't know why we could consist. We constantly look to the Scottish leagues. I think other than Rangers and Celtic, the rest of that division is League One standard. And if you're going to bring in a forward like Cosgrove or Nisbet, you're essentially looking at a League One standard forward, in my opinion. And I just don't think it's where we should be looking. Personally.
I think the problem as well with Cosgrove and Nisbet, and I think Nisbet is clearly the better of the two players from what I've seen and heard. But
I think massively overpriced though for what they wanted.
What, $4 million?
They were trying to pull our trousers down with that one. I think the club did the right thing. You're looking at a striker. What did he score last season? I don't know what it was.
Was he second top scorer over there, wasn't he? I think.
But he was behind a defender for Rangers or Celtic. So I don't think. So I don't.
I think the
It's not
thing with
exactly.
the
It's not.
Scottish leagues, if you're signing a player, is the problem is I find that a lot of people who support a Scottish club are absolutely deluded in what standard Scottish football actually is. Like they wouldn't accept that the likes of Motherwell and Dundee United are nothing better than a Peterborough, for example. And that's no disrespect. I think Peterborough are actually a very good side, to be fair. But that is the standard of Scottish football. And whenever you speak to or try and ask a Scottish football fan what Nisbet's like, is the best thing since sliced bread. But is that just because he's playing against these substandard defenders week in, week out? Or is it because he's actually a decent player? Usually, if you're a Scottish footballer and you're worth your salt, you're at Celtic and Rangers, like you say, in no time.
I think so. Yeah.
So
I think so, mate. I don't think a lot of people cried about the fact we missed out on this bit, but I wasn't too fast. I don't think it's where we should be looking for players, to be honest with you. Unless you can afford players from Celtic and Rangers, but
I think the fact that we got excited about Nisbet in the first place was just the fact that we was literally offering money for a striker.
Yeah.
At the time, and I think at that point we'd have accepted spending 4 million on anyone that had scored, 10 goals. But that's not to say that they're a good player. That's to say that we've been really, really, took the piss out of when it comes to signing strikers at our club in recent years.
Don't get me wrong, I would have taken Nisbet over Cosgrove all day long, but I think Cosgrove was the panic signing after they realised that they weren't willing to up their offer for Nisbet.
Well, the thing that tells you Cosgrove was a panic signing was the fact that at the time Karanka was in charge and Karanka didn't want Djukovic at the club and yet signed another target man up front, which tells you all you need to know. He was never a Karanka signing. He was just a signing the board made because they needed a body to put up front. And unfortunately for Cosgrove, now his time looks to already be up at the club. He not really had a chance to do anything, but would he actually do anything if he did get given the chance? I don't really think he would.
No, but I think a lot of supporters would like to see him, given an opportunity, given a couple of games, not just coming on for 5-10 minutes. And then at least we can kind of say, okay, yeah, you're not the required level, you're not good enough, we'll loan you out. And I think Leko's had that opportunity, but Cosgrove's not. And I think that's put a few supporters' noses out a little bit.
The thing with Leko as well is he's been given an opportunity in a couple of different positions as well. He's played off Duke, he's played out on the right-hand side, he's drifted out onto the left-hand side and hasn't contributed in any of those three positions. And when you're a front line player, a player who plays along that front line in any of those three positions, if you haven't done anything to prove yourself, then sooner or later your time runs out. And I think ultimately that's what's happened with Leko, or is what will happen with Leko.
I think he's been afforded a good opportunity as well, because he's been played, like you say, he's been played off Djukovic, a good target man, someone that can hold the ball up, and he hasn't really offered a huge amount. And when he was played out wide earlier, probably sort of back in the last season, I saw a few games where he was played wide. He just looked like he was in a canoe without a paddle. He didn't know what he was doing. I just think he needs to drop down a level. I think he needs to drop down a level and see where he's at.
I think that was the plan with obviously with Cosgrove as well, is potentially getting to a a top 6 League One side. I think was it Wednesday and Rotherham I'd seen him linked with at one point.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of would show what level he's at, because if he's going to score goals for them, at the top end of League One, he could potentially do it in the situation we're in currently, which is presumably a bottom half Championship side. It kind of gives you a good indicator, but at the same time, is it easier to cut our losses and try and find him a permanent move before the end of the window, or?
I just think you're going to lose money if you try and sell him now. You're not going to get anywhere near £1 million, and he's probably on a decent contract as well, so you're not going to shift him. I think the best bet is to put him out on loan and hope that he improves and comes back a better player. And If not, then you cut your losses and let him go. But I definitely don't think he's got. And this is not me putting the player down, because I would love nothing more than for him to be successful in a blue shirt and be playing well. But I just don't think it's going to work for him this season. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and he gets into double figures or something crazy. But I can't see it. I think he's going to go and get experience somewhere else, because there's too much pressure on his shoulders at this club. This club demands not success, but it demands better than what it's has for the last few seasons. And we need some players now that are going to put the ball in the net. And that's what I liked about today, that we're looking at a striker, championship level striker, hopefully a striker that, like we were saying earlier, knows where the net is, and even if it's someone like Lyle Taylor or Nahki Wells, I'd probably prefer the latter there. Fingers crossed. But moving on, we were talking earlier about the defence. What's your thinking on the defence and the options?
Our discussion about the defence was an interesting one. And I think we're both in the same boat in terms of immediately the thing that stands out for us both is, we've signed Sanderson, but we're still absolutely short in both full-back positions and centre-back. Pedersen, as I think we've both said, isn't a full-back really. I think he's more of a centre-back. He seems to be built like that in that way. He doesn't really look like a traditional left-back. He doesn't have that, that physique. I don't think he's got the brain to play full-back, especially in a defensive side. But if you put him at the left of a three, I think he's absolutely perfect there.
Mm.
We haven't got anyone to cover Colin, and we haven't got anyone to cover any injuries at centre-back either. So I think we are one, maybe even two bodies short in defence still.
I think so.
But again, last season we signed Valerie on loan for the second half of last season. He didn't even see him, and he was a right back and arguably a decent prospect. But obviously, I'm not saying bring him back, but it just goes to show we signed another right back, and he didn't even get a look in when he was here. So, I mean, what about yourself? I mean, and then also, is there anyone who you could think that we could actually go for?
I don't know, to be honest. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, when I looked at the squad tonight, and I thought, we do look really short. I think we had that discussion about Pedersen, and I don't think Pedersen. I don't think we know where Pedersen's best position is. Is he a left back? Is he a left centre back? Definitely not a left wing back, that's for sure. How good is this Castillo? He's not exactly pulled up trees on his previous loan spells with Chelsea. From Chelsea, I know he got relegated last season in the Dutch league. Didn't play many games, and then you think, he's not really an out-and-out left back. He looks more of an attacking player, like we said, like a little bit like Sheikh Kaita. Looks a little bit more. He's got a bit more about him physically. And then the news obviously that Sanderson's out till September. He's not fully fit. And then you start to think, right, well, what happens if Roberts or Dean gets injured? Who comes in? George Friends, and that's it. That's your options. Then you're looking into the under 23s. You're looking at kids, and that's my worry, to be honest. That we look really short. I think we look short of a centre back, and we look short of a left back.
My worry with George Friend, like I said, anyway, is he's obviously not getting any younger as well. And regardless of whether he's only asked to fill in for 2 or 3 games, it doesn't take much at that age to just that he could just go in a heartbeat. I remember watching Gary Neville for United. I think there was away at Stoke. And he had an absolutely atrocious first half, and the game before that he was brilliant. He had an atrocious first half against Stoke. Ferguson hooked him, and that was it. Career over. And just goes to show that their careers at that age, you can just be finished in a split second. And if that's what you're relying on for potentially hefty parts of the season, if there's a significant injury to one of the players, I just don't think there's enough there.
No,
I really don't.
I
Like you
don't.
say, if Pedersen, for example, or Colin get injured, you're looking at a change in shape.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, like you say, like you said earlier, if it was Pedersen that gets injured, and all of a sudden you're having to go to a back four, Castillo's not an out-and-out left back. He's, like you say, he's an attack-minded wing back. So he's not going to be. Is he going to be reliable from the defensive side of things? The other option: do you put Friend there if you go to a flat four at left back? But then, has he got the legs to do it at this age now, this season? Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks over the defence.
I think so. I think we'll feel a little bit better when Sanderson's back and he's fully fit, and I think he'll be a potentially a good loan signing for us this season. But if we were to have some unfortunate injuries this year, in defence, and the window shuts, and we've got to go 3 months with George Friend at centre back, I'm worrying. I'm worrying big time. So I think he's definitely got to get another centre back in. That is a certainty. And I think he's got to obviously get this striker in, which fingers crossed, obviously after news today that he will. But away from the doom and gloom, what I would say is I think the loan signing of Chong, that's exciting, isn't it?
Chong, the signing intrigues me more than anything else because I haven't really seen much about him. I know he's obviously highly thought of at United, and he's at Werder Bremen for one part of last season, and it could be a fantastic signing. I mean, our last loan signing from United ain't done too bad, has he? Jesse Lingard. So
I don't think he's going to replicate the 4 goals though on his debut, but
be nice, wouldn't it? But no, but I think that is probably the one that is the most exciting purely because, and I think it's the element of I don't really know what to expect that makes it more exciting because there's a lot of hype around him and this signing for us. He could come and turn it on for a season and be absolutely fantastic, or he could be one of the ones that drifts in and out of games. You never know, do you? But I do like the look of it from what I've seen of him and what I've heard. I think he's going to be a handful. And then obviously the other signing in that sort of position as well is Jordan Graham, who obviously had a decent season with Gillingham last time out. I mean, what are your thoughts on his signing?
Yeah, I like the look of Jordan Graham, and I must admit he's looked good in pre-season. I know he picked up a knock, and I think he's fully fit now. I think if I was having to choose Jordan Graham or Bella, I'd probably go giving Jordan Graham an opportunity first. I know Bella's actually looked pretty good as well pre-season, to be fair to him, but I do like the look of Jordan Graham. He's got an eye for goal, which is what we need. I know it's at League One level, but we need wide players that can chip in with goals as well as assists, and this is what I'm hoping with Chong as well. And I'll go back to Chong, but I think any player that's signed a contract with Man United recently, and he's obviously thought of quite highly. They clearly don't want to sell him. They're clearly not looking to sell him, and they want to see what his worth is. And I think he could potentially be a game changer for us this season. I don't want to get too excited. I haven't done really, to be fair, with any of our signings this season, and I'm keeping my feet on the floor with all of them, to be honest, because I got excited over Villalba coming to us, and we know how that one ended. But I think he could be a real game changer for us, and he could really make things happen. And that's what we need. We need forward players that have got end product, not just a couple of step overs here and there. And I know looking at someone like Halilovic, just a shame he didn't, commit to the contract that was on the table. But he's also a quality player. But again, I didn't feel like he had a huge amount of end product in him. We need players that are going to put the ball on people's heads and are going to put the ball in the net. So hopefully Jordan Graham and Chong are going to be two good signings for us this season.
I think it's interesting to see exactly how Bowyer's going to approach it, because now obviously all of a sudden you've brought in Chong, you've brought in Graham, you've got Bella, who was obviously out of favour with him tail end of last season, but I think that was mainly the formation and how he's seen us getting out of trouble didn't really constitute, or you couldn't really afford to have Bella in there. But then obviously you've also got Sanchez as well. So we've got options in these positions.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting the first few weeks to see, obviously, first of all, who he favours in the two wide positions. And then also on top of that, I'm just interested to see how he wants to play. Because I know he's said numerous times, I'm not giving my cards away yet. And like you said before the recording, we're not really going to see much at Sheffield United on Saturday. It's going to be a backs to the wall job for the most part. So I think it'll be, Bournemouth and Stoke at home before we really start to see what we're going to actually be about for the duration of the season.
I agree. I think, like I said to dinner, I think we'll play five at the back at Sheffield United. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to work that out. They play three at the back. They're going to play with wing backs. I think we could get annihilated if we play a flat back four. And then, like you just said, Stoke, Bournemouth, actually look, they're going to be two good sides this season. How are we going to approach those two games should be really interesting. Is he going to go back to a back four and play wingers? Or is he going to, depends how successful we are on Saturday, I guess. If we're successful on Saturday with the wing back style, he might continue with it. But it would be interesting. I don't expect much Saturday. What are you expecting Saturday, result-wise?
I mean, I think the only thing that potentially goes in our favour is obviously, again, I don't think Jokanovic and Sheffield United really know what their identity is going to be for the season either yet. I think we know from his time at Fulham that Jokanovic likes a free-flowing, attacking style of play. He likes, goals coming from everywhere on the pitch. But obviously, whether or not he's had the time to really implement his style is a different thing. Will we face them whilst they're still in, some sort of transitional period? Yeah. I suppose that's what we can hope for, and that can work in our favour, because Bowyer's, although he's obviously looks to be changing overall, I don't think we'll steer away from what we've done for the last 10, 15 games of last season on Saturday. I think it'll be more of the same. And I think a lot of the players that play will have also been there tail end of last season and now know what to expect and what he wants from them and what's expected from them. So I don't know. I'm expecting probably a narrow loss, but I'd take a point.
Oh God, yeah, I'll take a point now. To be honest, I think a draw would be a massive result. I think Sheffield United got a huge amount of options, but one thing I guess it's going in our favour is they had that COVID outbreak, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago, and their pre-season's been disrupted quite a bit. So, I'm kind of hoping that, although they did play, I did see some highlights from one of their pre-season games just about a week ago. They played I can't remember who they played, but they won 4-0. They got a lot of firepower. That's my only worry. So, yeah, I think if we got a point,
they haven't even, from what I can remember, they haven't even lost anyone, have they yet?
No,
apart from Lundstrom.
I don't think. Have they made any signings? I don't think they've made any signings. They've just kept the same squad.
It's the same squad, isn't it, from what I can recall? But I mean, he weren't great in the Prem, but Bruce, the last time he was in the Championship, was a frightening player. I mean, he scored a couple against us, didn't he, for Swansea?
Yeah, they've got Bruce, McBurney, Mousset. I think that leaves Mousset's going to get a few this season in the Championship. I'm trying to think who else they got. Obviously, got John Fleck, who's a very good player. They got
Sanderberg.
Yeah, he's a good defensive midfielder. And then their back four or five or whatever they play, it's pretty solid. I think it's going to be a really tough game. Probably, to be fair, it's probably a good time to catch them first day of the season. They're not. Hopefully, we catch them. They're not up to speed. They're not firing all cylinders, and we might bag a result. So, look at it that way, I suppose. Try and stay positive.
So 3-0 Blues.
I was thinking 3-0 Sheffield United, but yeah, just try and keep the score down,
I think, yeah, I'll stick my neck on. Well, I'll say stick my neck on the line. I'll go with 1-1. Nice point to start the season.
I don't know. I can't predict it, to be honest. I can't predict it.
I mean, what are your hopes for the season overall?
I think we discussed it earlier as well, didn't we? I think mid-table would be a success this season. When you briefly look through the squad and what we've got available to us, and you compare it to what other sides have got, I think we're probably not top 10 quality. I think 12 to 14th would be seen as a good season this year. I actually feel, I'm not going to say it, but I think we're okay under Bowyer this season. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, I think what we've got available to us, 12 to 14. Yeah.
I just want a season where we're not constantly looking over our shoulder. And I definitely don't want a season where we are relying on other teams again. I think we're okay this season. I say relatively confidently. I'm 99% sure that Derby will take one of the 3 positions going down. And then I look at it and I think, is there 2 teams that are worse than us? Absolutely. So I think we're all right. I think it all just depends now on how the signings fit in and how they gel and how we get up and running. Like we said off air, a decent start to the season can do the world of good, can't it?
Yeah, I think so. I did. I looked at the West Brom result last week. I think, like a lot of sports, and I thought, there's just such a gap still, isn't there, between us and the sides that come down. And but you can't take a lot out of pre-season. It's just a kickabout at the end of the day, and it's just about fitness. So I think we'll learn a lot from the first sort of handful of games. I think it'll be an up and down season this year, and I hopefully mid-table. Hopefully the sports will get behind that. It's a success as far as I'm concerned. We just need a season that we can build on. You can't build on seasons where you're constantly worrying about relegation, like you say, and finishing just outside the bottom 3. It's no good. So you need to finish mid-table to go, right, let's build. That's hopefully what we'll do.
Yeah, I think also a season as well, where we actually pick up a few victories at home would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
In front of a half-empty ground still, but
well, we saw that. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. I mean, we saw that at the end of last season under Bowyer, then we started to actually pick up results at home, which was unfathomable. Like around Christmas when we were losing six at home on a trot, like beating like a 40-year sort of record. And now we just look like we know how to play at home. And with the crowd back, well, half the crowd back, hopefully it'll be a different story. But yeah, it's unfortunate that half the crowd, 10,000 people can't, 10,000 seats are going to be empty next season, probably the majority of next season as well, which is ridiculous.
That is just, we've had 18 months beyond closed doors. We've had 18 months to be able to do something, and we've left it so long that we're going to miss the first part of the season with a full crowd when fans are finally allowed back in. And then on top of that as well, the prices for the Stoke game that have been set.
I just got a bad feeling that the prices are going to reflect the fact that they can't fill 10,000 seats, even though we probably have 10,000 empty seats most home games anyway. But, it's the Tilton and the main stand, it's just a farce, to be honest with you. And I can't believe, I know a lot of people are saying that the work needs to be accessed from the pitch, but if it takes 16 weeks, when you're going to do that? Because you probably could do it in the summer, but it needed to have been done this summer. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they haven't done it, haven't sorted it out in time. And it's a shame.
It's unfortunate because there has been a lot of things that we've looked at this summer from the club, obviously since Dongren's gone, and it's been positive. There's finally communication from the club to the fans, and and everything just seemed a bit more upbeat. But then obviously this stadium thing and then the ticket price for the Stoke game, like we said, it's took the gloss off it a little bit. But I think overall we can be optimistic and approach the season with a relatively positive outlook overall.
I think so, mate. I think we can be a little bit more positive. Let's not go mad. We've got to be. I don't know what the word is, but I'm too tired today. But we've got, we're not going to be aiming anywhere near the playoffs. I think we need to get that right. We're not of that level. As far as I'm concerned, you've got to spend money, I think, in this division to get near the top six. So it's just not gonna be for us this season. But some of the, like I say, we didn't even touch on Woods. Woods, I think, is a good transfer as well. So we can be reasonably happy with the transfer business, can't we? That's happened and where we're at. So cautiously optimistic is the word I think I'm looking for.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I mean, obviously, we'll wrap it up there because, realistically, it's not worth delving into friendly performances and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously, recording this on the Thursday night, massive news in the world of football in general today. That the greatest number 10 on the planet, Lionel Messi, is not renewing at Barcelona. So, he could be the forward we're looking at. I think there's been some other number 10s made a transfer as well, but...
Mate, I said cautiously optimistic. That's like...
Yeah, so he was spotted in the club shop earlier, I heard.
Yeah, it was one of his dodgy lookalikes.
But, just... I can't believe that Messi not renewing his contract has been shadowed by the link to Naki Wells, to be honest.
I know, it's a disgrace, mate. Honestly, it's not a disgrace. But how good would it be to see Messi in the Premier League? I've got a bad feeling it's going to go PSG, but I would love to see Messi in the Premier League just for a season.
I think the thing, I feel like he'll still end up at Barcelona come the season. I think Barca are just putting pressure on La Liga to kind of loosen the reins financially on them. But like you say, I think he is past his best, but at the same time, he's still an absolute genius. And I think 1 year in the Premier League would be incredible, wouldn't it? I think we'd all love to see it. Unfortunately, it'll probably more than likely be at City, but I'd just love to see it.
I just want to see Messi up against Grant Hanley next season and just see the destruction.
I mean, he put Boateng on his arse when he was in his prime at Bayern, so I think Grant Hanley wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, so...
Imagine if he ends up in the Prem and then we draw him in the Cup. That'll be a battle of the minds, Messi against Dean and Roberts.
I know. I dread to think what Messi would do to our defence, but I mean, I just looked on Twitter now, and I know it's Talk Sport, and they talk a lot of rubbish, but they are linking Man United to him, which I think's a bit of a strange one. But I suppose if he's free and you've only got to pay him the million euros a week that he demands, then it might be slightly doable. But I know he's after like a 5-year contract or something ridiculous. That's what he was after at Barcelona.
Yeah, apparently his Barca contract was a 5-year deal. Apparently anyone who's getting him even on a free transfer, there's like a 50-60 million pound signing on for.
Yeah.
So he's like a fucking expensive signing anyway, isn't he?
Yeah,
Excuse the French.
but you think you spend he commands 70 million in signing on fee, you'll recoup that straight back in shirts straight away.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. And then if you just can imagine,
realistically, there's only 2 clubs who can afford him. PSG and Man City are the 2 that you'd think.
It's the 2 clubs with sheikh owners at the end of the day, and I know Man United might be sniffing about, but you know what? Even Chelsea might sniff about as well, because I know they're contemplating Haaland. But having said that, you'd be stupid to go. I know it's Lionel Messi, but if you're going to spend that sort of money, I would go for Haaland. You know what I mean?
I think for the sake of the long-term investment, it's obviously the smart choice.
Of course it is.
But we'll see what Bowie wants to do first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he gets first dibs, so we'll see what he fancies doing.
Exactly. I've seen what he's done with Lecker.
He'll go after John Daddy Barbason now.
I think with the whole thing with the Messi Barcelona situation is it's just nice to see that there is a club that was worse run in the same tenure as Blues under Dong. It's just nice to know that, although to be fair, they're saying they can't afford him because he wants £1 million a week. It's a bit different to our situation, isn't it? But, yeah, I'm pretty sure Barca fans feel a bit hard done by tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're probably
I'd be absolutely fuming at the fact that Messi's had to leave because Umtiti and Pjanic are digging their heels in.
I just want to know whether they're having a similar meltdown to our most loved neighbours I've had the last few days, you know. I don't want to say his name. There's a particular player that left them, but yeah, he obviously wanted to go and win trophies, which he couldn't do at their club. But
I don't even think it's just that, you know, we wanted to play decent football as well, you know, a decent level. And City offer that, don't they?
Well, you haven't got to play under Dean Smith, so that's an upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah. Every time I see Dean Smith, he looks a bit more like Steve Bruce every day. Is it just me that's noticed that? It's quite it's quite concerning actually.
I'm sure the geezer outside the ground setting up his cabbage stand as we speak.
He's going to make an absolute minting in a few weeks, isn't he? Have to retire.
Oh well, mate.
At the end of the day, right, if your star player insists on having a release clause, then what can you do?
Not what you can do, mate. Yeah, let's just hope Harley Dean don't have one.
Let's hope he does. Every player gets a clean slate for the new season, even Harley.
On that note.
Yeah, obviously we'll be back for another recording and potentially a new official name after the Sheffield United game. But don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Until then, we'll speak to you soon.